December 24, 2017. Trump declaration of national emergency throws U.S. media into silence, and global elites into terror. An astonishing new Security Council (SC) report circulating in the Kremlin today states that after a full 72 hours, the U.S. mainstream propaganda media has yet to inform the American people that President Donald Trump has declared a national emergency and whose direct purpose is the destroying of Hillary Clinton and everyone associated with her deep state coup plot against him, and that has, likewise, left the entirety of the globalist elite's money and power structure in absolute terror. According to this report, 72 hours ago, on 21 December, President Trump issued a gravely worded executive order declaring a national emergency, and whose exact words stated, "By the authority vested in me as President by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, including the International Emergency Economic Powers Act 50 U.S.C. 1701 ETSC, IEPA, the National Emergencies Act 50 U.S.C. 1601 ETSC, NE, the Global Magnitsky Human Rights Accountability Act, Public Law 114-328, the Act, Section 212F of the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1952, 8 U.S.C. 1182F, INA, and Section 301 of Title III, United States Code. I, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, find that the prevalence and severity of human rights abuse and corruption that have their source, in whole or in substantial part, outside the United States, such as those committed or directed by persons listed in the annex to this order, have reached such scope and gravity that they threaten the stability of international political and economic systems. Human rights abuse and corruption undermine the values that form an essential foundation of stable, secure, and functioning societies, have devastating impacts on individuals, weaken democratic institutions, degrade the rule of law, perpetuate violent conflicts, facilitate the activities of dangerous persons, and undermine economic markets. The United States seeks to impose tangible and significant consequences on those who commit serious human rights abuse or engage in corruption, as well as to protect the financial system of the United States from abuse by these same persons. I therefore determine that serious human rights abuse and corruption around the world constitute an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States, and I hereby declare a national emergency to deal with that threat." The ability of President Trump to use American military forces during this now declared national emergency, this report explains, are contained in what are called his nation's war powers laws, but with this conflict, mostly, being conducted in secrecy, as Trump further declared, I therefore determine that for these measures to be effective in addressing the national emergency declared in this order, there need be no prior notice of a listing or determination made pursuant to this order, and who, without doubt, will be aided by the secret intelligence operation he has built around himself to battle against his deep state enemies. The historic significance of what President Trump has done with his national emergency declaration, this report continues, is that he seems to have grabbed a handful of U.S. and international accords and policies to declare war on his deep state globalist enemies, most particularly the international money laundering operations masquerading as humanitarian organizations, such as Clinton Foundation and George Soros Foundation, with billions of their dollars having been immediately seized upon this executive order being issued. President Trump, also, in his national emergency declaration, this report details, made no secret of whom he was targeting either, and did so by his listing an annex to this executive order naming specific individuals to be targeted, and everyone associated with them, too, and that includes Angel Rondon Rijo, and Dominican Republic government official embroiled in a massive bribery scandal English involving the Brazilian construction company Odebrecht, who are known to have funneled millions, if not billions, of dollars into the Clinton Foundation. Dan Gertler, an Israeli international businessman whose criminal dealings were overseen by the global fugitive Mark Rich, whom President Bill Clinton shamefully pardoned for his crimes on his last day in office, and continues to pay out big for him and his wife Hillary. Sergei Kuzak, the commander of an elite Ukrainian police unit who engineered the Obama-Clinton regime coup against Ukraine, including his hiring of the Georgian mercenary snipers who were ordered to fire upon police and protesters alike. Glenora Islamovna Karimova, the daughter of the late Uzbek dictator who boiled his political opponents alive, and who arranged tens of millions of dollars to be given to the Clinton Foundation in order to get favors granted to her nation by then-Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. In targeting these globalist criminals who have laundered money with the Clintons for decades, this report notes, President Trump was not short on using irony either, and as evidenced by his citing the global Magnitsky Human Rights Accountability Act law as one of the weapons he was using against them, but had been the law the deep state enacted to use against Russia, but who are now seeing Trump using it against them. President Trump's anger at Hillary Clinton and her deep state allies causing him to declare a national emergency in order to destroy them, this report explains, involves a Democratic Party-linked commercial research and strategic intelligence firm based in Washington, D.C. named Fusion GPS, and whose owners, Glenn Simpson, and his wife Mary Jacoby, on April 17, 2007, co-wrote for The Wall Street Journal an article titled "How Lobbyists Help Ex-Soviets Woo Washington," alleging how prominent Republicans, including the 1996 Republican presidential candidate Robert Dole, opened doors in the American capital for Kremlin-affiliated oligarchs and other friends of President Putin. On May 14, 2008, during the 2008 U.S. presidential campaign in which Obama was first running, this report continues, Fusion GPS owners Glenn Simpson and his wife Mary Jacoby co-wrote another article for The Wall Street Journal titled "McCain Consultant is Tied to Work for Ukraine Party," and wherein they alleged that Republican Senator John McCain was colluding with Russia for his having hired as one of his advisors the longtime known Republican Party operative Paul Manafort. Following the path of Fusion GPS owners Glenn Simpson and his wife Mary Jacoby lies linking Senator McCain to the Kremlin, this report details. The rest of the Obama-supporting leftist mainstream propaganda media quickly followed in lockstep during the month leading up to the 2008 presidential election by, likewise, printing salacious lies claiming McCain was a Putin puppet. For those wondering what Fusion GPS did to Senator McCain during the 2008 presidential campaign in linking him to Russia sounds exactly what is now occurring nearly a decade later with President Trump, this report continues, they'd be correct in believing so because it's true and is due to the fact that when Trump's victory was nearing, Fusion GPS owners Glenn Simpson and his wife Mary Jacoby dusted off their 2008 smear book against McCain and then began shopping it around for anyone willing to pay for it be used against Trump. Willing, of course, to pay millions of dollars to Fusion GPS to smear Trump with false Russian lies, this report details, was Hillary Clinton, but who, in the gravest travesty of justice in American history, was joined in this criminal effort by the Obama regime's Justice Department and FBI, and that has led the highly influential American Jewish online magazine The Tablet to grimly warn. If a sitting president used the instruments of state, including the intelligence community, to disseminate and legitimize a piece of paid opposition research in order to first obtain warrants to spy on the other party's campaign, and then to delegitimize the results of an election once the other party's candidate won, we're looking at a scandal that dwarfs Watergate. Among the shocking revelations discovered by the Tablet's investigators into how Obama, Clinton, the Justice Department and FBI turned the 2008 McCain-Russia dossier into the 2016 Trump-Russia dossier, this report details. The most stunning was how Fusion GPS hired a former British MI6 operative named Christopher Steele to update it with lies about Trump, as he was the former head of MI6's Russia desk. But when Fusion GPS discovered that Steele didn't actually know how to speak or write Russian, then saw them hiring an acknowledged American-Russian expert named Nellie Orr and whose husband, Bruce Orr, was a top official in Obama's Justice Department who met secretly with Fusion GPS owner Glenn Simpson as Trump's victory was nearing in order to finalize the details of this coup. This report concludes by stating that the most likely reason the U.S. mainstream propaganda media is not telling the American people about President Trump's declaring a national emergency is due to their knowledge that many of their top journalists and media executives are some of his targets, too, and with all of them failing to ever fully realize that Trump is not only the greatest enemy the deep state has ever encountered, he's, also, smarter than all of these lunatic coup conspirators put together whose, perhaps, greatest failing was to know that when Trump said he was going to drain the swamp, he actually meant it.